Okay, welcome to Astro Conversations. I'm back. I have no idea what happened. It was some technical difficulties and I had to come back again. So anyway, let me make sure I'm still recording. Today I'm going to be talking about some mind-blowing news that I found out just this morning as I was looking at Media Takeout, and I was so shocked and surprised, like I'm sure so many of us, to find out that Tracy Braxton, um, one of the sisters of the Braxton family values. I'm sure you know two famous sisters. One which is Toni Braxton, which she's the major player in all of this. She's the Obi-Wan Kenobi. Everybody knows about Toni Braxton. She's been in the game for a long time. Um, so we all know about, the Braxton sisters mainly from Tony. So after Tony comes Tamar, and we all know about, loud ass Tamar and her shenanigans. Hold on, let me make sure I'm recording. Let me make sure I'm on and popping. A few seconds. Okay. Okay, so can you hear me? Oh my god. Let me see. Okay, good. So I think I'm good. Okay, yeah. So I don't have to be talking in vain. So anyway, yeah, so I'm going to be talking about, Tracy Braxton again. This is mind blowing. I had, no clue that she was suffering, and battling what we found out to be was cancer of the esophagus. And, she died at a very young age, which I believe 50 years. 50 years old to me is a very young age. Hey, INFJ Wells. Hey, Nicole. So you said Tracy was my favorite sister. Yeah, you know what? Tracy was, yeah, she definitely was one of my favorite too. And due to the fact that I did say that we're going to talk about astrology, let me just go real quick into her astrology aspects. Tracy, she's a sun sign Aries, and I liked it, Tracy, to be honest with you. Out of all the sisters, to me, Tracy came off as a little bit more modest and more real. To me, she no disrespect to the other sisters, but to me, Tracy, she was like more down to earth, and Tracy looked like she was more into her family and not really into trying to be seen and into being popular like the other sisters. I don't know if you guys got that vibe, but that's the vibe that I always got from Tracy. Um, yeah, definitely genuine. Yeah, yeah. They said that she had died from esophageal cancer, which is extremely dangerous. Because that's like it's like throat cancer, stuff like that, which you guys know about my situation. My husband's like similar. So once you start, dabbling into those areas like that, it could get kind of hard for the doctors to treat. Um, and I'm not gonna go into it too deep. Hopefully we'll go into a little bit later about everything else. But yeah, so Tracy, she was one of my favorite sisters. You know what I'm saying? Out of the bunch. My second favorite sister out of the bunch is Trina. And that's Trina right here, who is a Sagittarius. Trina is one of my favorite sisters too. So I would say Trina and Tracy, they're definitely my favorite of them all. And the reason why I say that is because, even though Tamar is a Pisces, Tamar to me, she's a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more um she to me she wants to, like, she wants a lot of attention. And to me, what I used to see, because one of my favorite shows was the Braxtons. I used to watch it all the time back in the days. Even while I was broadcasting on the show, I would make sure that I had time allotted, or I had it on my DVR, where I can always go back and I was updated with all the episodes. And I used to watch that show faithfully. And I'm telling you, as I would watch the show, I remember I used to always get the feeling that they didn't really respect Tracy. I don't know if you guys ever got that feeling, but I got the feeling that they didn't really respect her like that, and they really wasn't it was like she didn't really fit in. I don't know. It seems like she just never really fit in with the sisters. And I think this stems all the way back to the fact that, and I'm going to go to this article real quick, which is coming up as Tracy Braxton's bio. I'm going to go to this part right here and why I was saying that she never really fit in. And I think that it all started from this point. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Okay, so it's this part right here. So let me just start from here. So it says in 1995, it was reported in Vibe magazine that Tracy Braxton had left the group to pursue a career as a youth counselor. However, it was not confirmed until 2004 when Tawanda Braxton appeared in season 2 of the reality show Starting Over that Tracy was not allowed to sign with Atlantic because of her pregnancy at that time. Now, I'm bringing this up because I believe that the bitterness and the disconnection and the ongoing fights that we've all seen play out on the Braxtons, I believe that that stemmed from this right here. I believe it stemmed from the fact that just because she got pregnant with her son, or I don't know if it was her son at the time, well, just because she was pregnant at that time, they pretty much, left her out of the group. And I believe that that decision, it left her bitter and hurt for a very long time because, again, I'm not a part of their family. I don't really know what's going on, but from the chart, from what I've read so far, I'm gonna bring up some aspects. It seemed like she was left to make a hard decision. You know what I'm saying? Either keep her baby and get casted out, or do whatever, y'all women know what I'm talking about. I don't gotta go too deep within it. Make that decision and then, you know, do this Braxton singing and whatever they was doing back in the days. And I think that that decision that she made to keep her baby and to continue on with the pregnancy is what pretty much disconnected her from the group. That her sisters Tracy, Tawanda, and Tamar and Tony, they collabed and they did their thing. They were going on tours and they was doing this and they was doing that. And all that time, could you imagine all that time? Her sisters are on stage, back in the days, remember when the Braxtons were out, back in the days, they were like mega superstars. Like you couldn't even touch them. Like you couldn't even imagine. Like we have close connections with a lot of celebrities. Little do you know, we follow them on Instagram, on YouTube, or wherever have you. So they're not as far fetched as they was back in the days. Like back in the days, you would wish to have a follower and Michael Jackson follow you back. But back in the days, it's like a lot of celebrities, they were unreachable. So when the Braxtons, when they were on tour and they was doing this and they was doing that, her sister was probably hurt. Tracy was probably hurt with with a little baby at home, watching her sisters go all over the world. Probably she was there too, but on the tour bus. So, that must have hurt because she had to make a choice between keeping her child or being a part of the group. And, they didn't allow her to sign. And I think just that situation alone is what put a big dent and a problem into the ongoing problems that we used to see on the Braxton shows. Now, again, going back, Tracy was one of my favorites because again, she just seemed more genuine and she just seemed more, like Nicole said, genuine, more down to earth, more real. And it makes sense because she's an Aries. You know what I'm saying? She didn't really have nothing to hide. There was no facade, no faking it. She kept it real, and this is who she was. Um, and then the other girl was Trina. Trina, she's another one of my favorites. She's a Sagittarius, and she's my favorite sister too. And Tawanda, yeah, you know what, Tawanda, I liked her at first, and I believe Tawanda's a Virgo. I liked her at first, but then I saw Tawanda one day when I was living in Georgia. I saw her at Publix at the supermarket, and when I saw her, you can't help but recognize her. She looks like how she looks on TV. So when I saw her, at first I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Oh shit!" When I was going down the aisle, I was like, "Oh my god, is that Tawanda?" So I had went back while she was on the checkout line. I was like, "Hi," I went to her and I was like, "Hi, Tawanda Braxton." And she turned around, she looked at me, she was like, "Yes," and she had like a little snooty, uppity, thinking I'm all that type of attitude. So when she did that day, I was like, "Okay," "Okay, right, bye, whatever." After that day, she left like a real bad taste in my mouth because she acted like she was all of that. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people won't believe me, but I used to live right around the corner from Tawanda Braxton at first because we kept bumping into her. And then my husband would tell me, he was like, I saw Tawanda Braxton at the gas pump. And I'm like, for real? And then I would see her often. And she was, at that time, she was driving I think, a little Benz truck. And she lived right around the corner, of course, on the nicer side of where I used to live. Um, but just that attitude and her whole approach is what really left a bad taste in my mouth, and I never really liked her after that. So yeah, so I just noticed that, there was this energy when I would watch the Braxtons that they really, really didn't include Tracy Braxton into their connection. And I don't know if this is going back to the fact that while they were on tour, the sisters were doing things. She didn't, she wasn't a part of the group. And then ever since that point, it was like that disconnection that I don't know. It just seemed like it never mended, no matter how much water was under the bridge. It just seems like things it would never be the same. So anyway, let me go to the chat real quick. So INFJ Wills, you said black sheep, and I blame Evelyn. They resented the fact that she stayed close to their father. So why do you blame Evelyn? Why do you blame Evelyn for what happened? And then Nicole, you said makes sense. She's always came across fake Virgo. Oh my god. And you said I always liked it, Trina. Yeah, Trina. Remember Trina? Remember Trina, guys? Back in the days when she was going. Oh yeah, this is what I want to bring up to you guys real quick. Remember Trina, her ex-husband Gabe? Yo, bust this. I was so shocked, guys. And you guys could look it up yourself, maybe if you want to verify. But I found out that Trina Braxton and Gabe Solis, that's her husband. If excuse me if I'm wrong, but I believe they actually had the same exact birthday. Again, I could be bugging, but this is what came up is that these two are both Sagittarius. And I believe, again, you would have to do your research, but this is what came up. I believe they had the same birthday. And I was like, "Oh my god." I was so shocked. And remember how hard that marriage hit Trina? I mean, that whole divorce and that fiasco, it played out on the Braxtons. And remember the Braxtons, they did not like Gabe because their sister was so unhappy. I mean, their divorce took a major toll on Trina. And to find out, I was shocked to find out shortly after they got a divorce, Gabe died of cancer at the age of 43. Did you guys know that? I didn't even know that. So I don't see nobody in the chat, but I was very, very shocked to hear that. First of all, I did not know that he was sick. You know what I'm saying? And it appears that that whole time that they were going through a divorce, he was suffering silence from pancreatic cancer, in which he died of. Um, again, I believe shortly after they got divorced. And it's shocking because he didn't make a big fiasco out of it. You know what I mean? It was just something that was quiet, kept under the rug. And yeah. And again, I believe that they both share the same exact birthday. Again, I could be wrong, but this is what came up. And if that's the case, then right there, it shows you that this marriage that they had, it was karmic. And even though the sisters kept telling Trina, leave him, girl, it was hard for her to leave him. And, again, one of these days I said, I'm going to come on here and I'm going to talk about the dark wife. and I'm going to talk about marriage and stuff like that. But when people tell you to leave somebody, it's easier for them to say it because they don't have any love or connection. They never had sex with that person. There's no spiritual ties. So when somebody tells you to leave somebody, yeah, it's easy for them to say it. And it seems easy for people to just get up and go. But when you have a spiritual bond with somebody, it's not that easy to just cut the cord and move on with your life, especially when you have kids. If you have kids, it's even worse. So she had children with this man. She's obviously loved this man and she wanted things to work, but for whatever reason, it just you could tell that Gabe wasn't really into Trina like that. You know what I'm saying? And the divorce took such a toll on her that, the drinking increased. You remember how Trina used to look? She went up and down in her weight. She was going through all these type of emotional problems because that's what happens when you go through a divorce. When you go through a divorce, it's like a death. You lose the dream. You lose everything. I mean, just the thought of having to start all over again is like a death when it's within itself. So when people go through divorces, it's a heavy process. And it's also a dangerous process too. And I'm not going to go into it. This is why we see that domestic violence is at an all-time high. When a woman leaves a man, that's the most dangerous time of her life. Because for whatever reason, the man doesn't want her to leave, or it's some type of controlling factor. Again, there's some type of bond that nobody could see that's broken, and danger is involved. So anyway, let me go back into the chat real quick. So INFJ Wills, you said Evelyn is still bitter all these years later about the divorce. I think she made the kids choose sides. Remember, Tracy was close to him and his new wife from day one. The others stopped speaking to him. Yeah. Yeah, when relationships don't work out, there is a bitterness there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of salt because again, the dream, the vision that you were upholding it's diminished, and people do get bitter when things don't work out. And Nicole, you said I just looked it up. They have the same birthday. That's crazy. He died when they broke up. Yeah, Nicole. Thank you for verifying that, Nicole. I feel better now. I feel really relieved because when I looked that up, I was so fucking shocked. I was like, "Oh my god. Why I never knew this?" As much as I used to be, as much as I used to watch the Braxtons and I thought I knew so much about them, I never knew that Trina and her husband Gabe, that she had a horrible time breaking up from, even though he showed her that he wasn't really into her. You could see the energy. I remember when they were on the show, you could see that he didn't really have that loving energy for her. It was like he was just there just to be there for the kids, which again, I said, when I get some time, I'm going to come back on here. I'm going to talk about the dark wife because I just put up a post on my community page, which probably a lot of people don't understand. There's no diss on the wife, and there's really no diss on the husband. It's a spiritual process that hopefully one of these days, like I said, soon, I'm fixing to come on here and I'm going to talk to you about the spiritual process on how someone can turn from a wife to a dark wife. You know what I'm saying? How you can turn into somebody that has that glow, that has that light in the beginning of the marriage. But then after a while you're in this toxic marriage that nobody wants to leave, and again, I explained it briefly in the post that, you know, when you're in a marriage, like let's talk about this couple right here, Gabe and Trina. It was obviously that Trina was ready and willing to fight all the way to the end to save her marriage with Gabe. But it was clear as day, we all saw it with our own two eyes, that no matter what Trina's status was, it didn't matter that Trina was a Braxton. It didn't matter that she was on TV. It didn't matter. You can tell just by watching the show that Gabe's energy, he didn't want to be in that marriage, but he stayed. And again, talking about the dark wife, I'm sure that he stayed because He realized if he would have left earlier, probably he was checked out of the marriage a long time ago. And sometimes people stay in marriages longer than they should. Why? Because there's finances tied up. So they know if they leave that it's probably going to be a very expensive departure. See, it's cheap to get into a marriage and it's very expensive to get out of it. So that's why it's cheaper to keep her. Okay. And what happens is, again, it's cheaper to keep her, but we all know that it never pays to be cheap. Why? Because if you're cheap, you're going to get what you pay for. So usually what happens is that he keeps her, creeps on her like Gabe did, and then he eventually cheats on her like we all saw play out within this marriage. So he was checked out of the marriage a long time ago. And, he was trying to give her energy signs that he wasn't into it, but for whatever reason, he stayed. And most likely he stayed because it was cheaper. But cheap, and then you're living in pure misery being cheap. So anyway, again, thank you, Nicole, for verifying the fact that these two shared the same birthday, which I was very shocked to see. Did not know they were both Sagittarius. And then again, shortly after. And then I'm going to talk about that too. Another thing that happens to people spiritually. See, when you get married, I was just talking to my friend about this. When you get married, not only do you sign a physical contract with the government where you have to submit your paperwork and you get the social security and all your names changed over, not only do you do that physically, but spiritually, you're also signing a contract. You know what I'm saying? You're in a bind. You're in a bond. You know what I'm saying? When you marry somebody, that's a contract, not only physically with the government, but it's spiritually with God. And when that contract is broken, it just disrupts the whole entire thing. It disrupts the family, it disrupts the kids. Nobody is happy. I don't even think that people who betray people in marriage are happy. Nobody, I don't even think a cheater, after a while, I don't even think cheaters, yeah, thank you so much, Nicole. I don't even think cheaters after a while, when they continue to go out there and they have their affairs and they come home and they lay in the same bed with their wives or husbands, whoever's doing the cheating, because women do it too. I don't really think at the end of the day, nobody's really happy doing that. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not free. You're not free. When you're married, you are not a free agent. When you're married, you're not single. You know what I'm saying? When you're married, you're supposed to be, as far as I know, unless you're poly. See, if you're poly, then that's different. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, as we go on in the future, hopefully, marriage, just like so many things, will change. And maybe people will be more open minded. Maybe people, hopefully, with this whole astrology thing taking off, I'm hoping maybe in the future, for those who are interested in the science, just for the fun of it, there's nothing wrong with it. Just do a little synastry chart with you and the one that you love before you walk down that aisle, and see, how the chart, how it plays out. You know what I'm saying? See if down the line in the marriage, if infidelity will come about. And talking about that, let me go back to Tracy Braxton. Let me go back to her. Tracy Braxton, my beautiful Tracy. So Tracy Braxton, again, I pulled up her astrology chart, and I believe not only, the situation with her being pregnant, her being casted out, and not being able to join her sisters and be the singer that it appears that she wanted to be. I believe that not only did that put some heartache and pain on her marriage, we also saw that her marriage also caused her a lot of heartache and pain. And again, she's a sun sign Aries, and one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of Aries women, you know what I'm saying, on the dark side, sometimes they will stay in relationships and in marriages that are toxic, that are not good for them. They're unhappy. They want out. But for whatever reason, the loyalty that Aries women have, I'm not talking about the Aries men, that's a whole different ball game. But the Aries women, sometimes they become loyal to a default, to a point where they're loyal and they stay in these bad relationships for a very, very long time, knowing that the man is cheating. You know what I'm saying? I notice also a lot of Aries women that, they may have stories of, they're in marriages for over 10 years, 20 years, and infidelity obviously is going on in the marriage. But a lot of times you will hear that Aries women will say, I think my husband had a baby on me, or he has kids outside of the marriage. You will hear a lot of Aries women say that. And that's what Tracy, I'm sure you guys heard about it when they were on marriage boot camp. And Tracy, she had brought up the fact that, she was hurt at the fact that not only did her husband cheat on her, which he admitted that he cheated on her, but it's coming up in the grapevine that he had a baby on her. And that has to be heartbreaking for a wife and for a woman to know that she only had one child with her husband that she'd been with for years, only to find out that this man that you lay in the bed with almost every night went out there and had a child by somebody else. So that's what was going on with Tracy. And, this kept coming up. And I believe that was one of the reasons why she wasn't fully happy with her marriage and her life. But it did come up because I brought it up in her chart. It did come up at one time in her marriage. This is why the marriage lasted so long, was that the marriage was actually good in the beginning. But as time goes on, like with so many marriages, communication breaks down. Um, Familiarity, it breeds contempt, because in relationships, people do fall into contempt. And sometimes, a lot of times, men, they fall into contempt with their women. Women get relaxed. They don't take care of themselves like they used to. The maintenance goes down. They're not really impressing the man, and he starts to get enticed by other women. He goes out there and he does his thing, but he still has a place in his heart for his wife. So he stays because it's cheaper to keep her. So again, they had some good times in their marriage, but it came up that he was an adulteress. And another interesting fact that I found out about Tracy, just like Trina and her husband, they had the same birthday. It came up that Tracy Braxton and her husband, they both have Mars in Capricorn, which I thought was very, very interesting. And it came up with their Mars in Capricorn, even though they both have Mars in Capricorn, due to the fact that the degrees are different. I believe if this is his birthday, because they're saying that I think he's a Sagittarius. So I think her husband is a Sagittarius and she's an Aries. So anyway, her Mars in Capricorn is at 12 degrees. And it came up that, there was probably a lot of fighting and arguing within the relationship. And that's probably coming from the fact of cheating and infidelity. So that came up in their Mars in Capricorn. Again, he has Mars in Capricorn too, but it's at a different degree. It's at 6 degrees. Again, if this is his right birthday. But it came up that, he probably participated in these arguments and fights because of the words that he would say to her, or trying to bring her down and stuff like that. Um, so, he had his ways about him too. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I do believe that they loved each other, but it was a lot of infidelity within the relationship. It came up that Tracy Braxton, she was a homebody person. I believe that she loved her home and her family. This is why I don't think she really tried to push and go on tour with her sisters like that, because in her heart, according to her chart, she wanted it, but she probably really didn't want it. I mean, it was hard for her to weigh it. You know what I mean? Because she was really into her family, because she had a moon in Cancer. Um, and her moon in Cancer, it came up with her degrees being at 3, that she would experience an adulterous relationship and some marital issues. And sure enough, being married to a person with moon in Scorpio, definitely these things will come up. So again, if you're into astrology and you're ready to get married to somebody, I don't see what the big deal is. Just do a little synastry chart and just bring up and just look at these things and ask yourself, when you're ready to walk down this aisle with this man and these things come up, adultery, betrayal, issues with money and stuff like that, are you going to be able to handle it? A lot of people will say in the beginning, yes, but while you're going through it, it's very, very hard to say, yes, you want to continue on with this lifestyle, because nobody wants to be betrayed. Nobody wants to be hurt. But usually, that's what happens when people introduce adultery into the marriage. And it looks like, adultery played a big part in their relationship, and also money too. And then I was reading in the article that she was saying something about, he was always using the money that wasn't really his money and stuff like that. And it came up, sure enough, that Mars and Capricorn, that they both share, that seems to be a major issue. So two major issues that I see is the fact that she had a moon in Cancer, his moon was in Scorpio, and adultery, betrayal, and things with beauty and luxury came up. Money issues. Um, Again, with both of them having Mars in Capricorn, it seemed to be some things going on. It also came up, guys, if his birthday is correct, it came up that I just did a show about this that's in private. It came up also that he has, if I'm not mistaken, let me see. Oh yeah, he has Virgo at 18 degrees. And pretty much is basically coming up that he's a well-respected man. He's honest, he's straightforward, and he has common sense. Yeah, so Nicole, you said, wait, Tracy's husband has a moon in Scorpio. I believe so. I believe so. I don't know if you want to verify that, but it came up that he has a moon in Scorpio. And her moon is in Cancer. And this is why she probably was okay with being at home, and she embraced her family. I did see that. Yeah, moon in Cancer is not leaving. Yeah. Yeah. She was loyal to this man, you know what I mean? No matter what he did to her, she was loyal. But I believe she cheated on him too. And I think she mentioned that in marriage boot camp. So he cheated on her and she cheated on him. And that's what an Aries woman would do. You know what I'm saying? If you cheat on her, you know what I'm saying? She's probably not going to be like a Cancer, or like even a Pisces, or let me think, what other sign, or Taurus or something like that. Like those signs of women, they'll get cheated on and they'll probably just complain and not cheat on you. But an Aries woman, if you cheat on her, there's a 99.9% chance she's going to cheat on you. Even if you don't find out about it, she's going to get you back, because you played her, she's going to play you. This is what I know about Aries people, especially the women. So yeah, it may have hurt her that that he cheated on her, but trust me, she got his ass back. Okay, probably more times than he could ever think of. So Nicole, you said, is Moon in Scorpio bad for a guy? I don't think, no sign is bad for anybody. It depends on what you do with it. But Moon in Scorpio, If it's a man, I'm sure that, many men would say if they have moon in Scorpio that they have a lot of lusty thoughts, you know what I'm saying? And they probably are the type to cheat. You know what I mean? If it's a moon in Scorpio man, there is probably a high likelihood that if he's married, he most likely will cheat if he's a dark side moon in Scorpio. So no, it's not a bad thing, but if he can control himself, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure it's going to be a good thing. You know what I'm saying? But moon in Scorpio men, if they do cheat, I'm sure a lot of them probably had affairs that nobody would know about because he would be secretive about it, probably very sneaky. If there's a woman who's married to a moon in Scorpio, she may say that her man is sneaky, or he always looks like he's about to, be up to no good or something like that. So yeah, so also guys, I wanted to bring up the fact that Tracy, and I brought this up so many times, guys, that if you see 2 degrees in somebody's chart, there's a good indication that that person will be well known. There's fame attached to that. This person is going to be popular, okay? But going through astrology and as I study, just because somebody has 2 degrees in a certain place, it doesn't mean that they're going to be known for good. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that have 2 degrees in their chart and they're known for bad because maybe they did a bad crime and then they were on the news and that's how everybody knows about them. So that could be another energy attached to 2 degrees. But Tracy has Neptune in Sagittarius at 2 degrees. And, you know, first of all, we all know that Sagittarius is linked to education and knowledge. You know what I mean? Studying, researching, teaching people, and stuff like that. So if she has Neptune in Sagittarius and it's at 2 degrees, her pursuing and fighting to be a part of her sister's group probably wasn't the route that she should have been so focused on. Because if she had Neptune at 2 degrees and she took that energy and she devoted it to, like, let's say becoming like a doctor or some type of lawyer or somebody who is going to educate people, maybe into occult sciences, maybe even being an astrologist or somebody like that, there's a good chance that she probably would have done well doing stuff like that instead of, trying to be seen and follow her sisters and be a part of the Braxtons, which we all see that it didn't really pan out right or the way she wanted it to pan out. So she would have been known, but probably something that would have been natural, something that she wanted to do and be. Um it also came up though that that in her career, in her pursuit of fame, that she probably has some people around her that was trying to bring her down and was trying to oppress her from being like famous or well known. So, that did come up. You know what I mean? Again, she probably wanted to be famous. She probably wanted to be well known, but there was somebody within her circle that was probably trying to oppress her from, becoming the star that she wanted to be. Because obviously she wanted to become a star. Let's go back to her bio real quick. I didn't know that Tracy did all these things. It says Tracy in 2015 she had a Christmas album, the Braxton Films, blah blah blah. Um, it looks like she released the single called "Broken Things" on April 20th, 2018, featuring her sisters Tony, Tawanda, and Trina. It says Tracy Braxton released Lifeline on August 3rd, 2018, as an official lead single from her sophomore album On Earth, which was released back on August 24th, 2018. It looks like in the same time she made her movie acting debut in a feature film Sinners Wanted. She was acting in the movie On In, starring Little Mama on June 13th, 2019. So it looks like Tracy did a whole lot of things, but for some reason it seemed like the energy was oppressed. Like we didn't really hear about it. Like what I just read, I didn't know that she did all of these things. I didn't know that she was in a movie. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that she came out with an album. I didn't know about any of these things. All I knew and heard about was her sisters. And not so much of Tawanda and Trina. All I heard about was Tamar and Tony. Tamar and Tony. Tamar and Tony. And every time you see Tracy, Trina, or Tawanda, the first thing you think after that is Tamar and Tony. You don't really see them for their accolades or for their accomplishments. And I think that's where that Neptune and Sagittarius at 2 degrees comes into play because, yeah, it was written in the chart that she was supposed to be famous, but that Neptune, it overshadowed her with her sister's fame. So it was like she always had like a little cloud of oppression over her that was always overshadowed by her sister's popularity. And this also did come up in the chart. Um, oh my God, INFJ Will. Oh my God, sorry. I hope I didn't say anything bad. I had no idea that you had a moon in Scorpio. I'm sorry if I said anything bad about, the lusty things and stuff like that. Pardon me. And again, this doesn't like the stuff that I say, it doesn't apply to everybody because as you go deeper into astrology, you guys know already it's not just having a moon in whatever. You know what I mean? It goes deeper than that because where's your degrees? Like what degree is it on? You know what I mean? And that's how we can go even deeper and see, okay, well, this person has, let's say, a moon in Pisces and it's at 2 degrees. You know what I'm saying? Right there. You know what I'm saying? It tells you this, that, and the third. So again, it was just a blanket statement. I hope I didn't say anything disrespectful about people with moon in Scorpio. It just came up that that's the energy that it may bring. Okay. But of course, INFJ Wills, you can let us know because you have that energy. So only you would know. So yeah, so it looks like Tracy, she did a lot of things, guys. Tracy Braxton, look at over all her songs. And honestly, I mean, I'm just gonna keep it real. I probably didn't hear a lot of these songs, and I'm not really sure why, if what was going on, but I didn't really hear about a lot of these songs. Um, I definitely didn't know that she played in a movie called The Sinners. Um, but yeah, we do know about her being on Marriage Boot Camp, which I didn't get a chance to watch that because I didn't feel like watching her husband and just no. And the Braxtons, I love that show. I'm so sad when they stopped playing that show. I love that show so much. Um, but yeah, that show was short lived. I don't know how many seasons. I think they had about 3 or 4 seasons on the Braxtons. One of my favorite shows. So yeah, guys. Tracy Braxton, man, she's gone, man. She's gone, yo. She's gone. But I'm glad that she did her thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that she made those songs. She was in the movies. She exhausted, I'm sure all of her resources. She did what she needed to do at the age of 50. I'm sure there's a lot of people on this earth who's probably older than her and didn't do half of what she's done. So I'm glad to see all of her accomplishments. But I'm sure that her parents, I'm sure her parents are hurt, you know what I mean? Because she, her parents outlived her. You know what I'm saying? Her father, her mother, they're still alive and, they're burying their daughter. I don't know, guys. Was Tracy Braxton was she the first daughter? Who's the oldest? I forgot. Is it Tony or Tracy? Um, I'm not really sure. I should have done my homework on that. Okay, INFJ Wells, you said you're good. You said I love hearing about the dark side. You know what? I used to love it too, man. I really, really did. I loved talking about dark side astrology. I mean, I loved it. I think it actually made me stronger as a person, learning about my dark side traits and not this fluffy, flurry story that so many people. Oh, Tony was the oldest. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, so many people want the bright side of astrology, but I didn't want that. You know what I'm saying? When I started doing astrology, remember when I started kicking these videos on this channel? I was kicking them dark side videos out left, right, and center because to me it was such a joy to learn about your dark traits because I knew about my good traits. You know what I mean? We display our good traits. You know what I mean? For the most part, guys, I don't, but for the most part, people do. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, people they express their good side. You know what I'm saying? People in this life, when they function, they put their best foot forward. You know what I mean? Most people don't show you the dark side of themselves only until it's too late. You know how many stories I've covered on this channel where we talked about domestic violence, we talked about this, we talked about that. Those things came out because that was a dark side trait that that person was withholding, and it came out when it was too late, and it was nothing that nobody could do because nobody saw it coming, because that was the energy that they oppressed. So when I was talking about dark side, I loved it. You know what I'm saying? We get to tap into our dark traits, and if those energies come up, we can either check ourselves or be aware and be conscious if we do this, if we do that, things can get out of hand. So I don't know why people were so against it, but obviously, people can handle it. So I had to scale back, but I loved it, man. I loved talking about the dark side of astrology. So yeah, man. So Tracy, man. So damn, man. When I heard about this, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it, man. I was so fucking shocked, yo. I'm like, what happened, man? And remember that time? Remember back in the days, guys? They was making fun of her, talking about because I think they had started another tour. I don't know if you guys remember this when they was doing the Braxton show, and they said they was gonna start another tour, this, that, and the third. And again, with them outcasting her like they've always been doing, from what I seen. Remember they started making fun of her weight? And they was telling her, "Oh, you got to lose weight," or it was always that, you know what I mean? So that was another block that she was dealing with. So, the block was because she was pregnant, and then now she's ready to take on the world. Now they're saying, "Oh, you can't cuz you overweight." So and then, so it was that battle she had to go through. I don't know if you guys remember watching the Braxton show, and then on the Braxton show, that's when she started, exercise. And remember, she was, I think she was working out with an African guy. Remember, he was an African trainer. I think it was Tracy or Trina, one of them. I can't remember. But then, she went full throttle. She was going all out because she wanted to lose the weight so she can fit in. And she ended up losing the weight, Tracy. And she was looking good and everything like that. And, everybody was so happy because Trina, Tracy, she had lost the weight. She could finally, obviously, fit in, and I guess make her sisters look good. I mean, I don't know what the problem was, but she ended up losing the weight. And that's what I'm saying about people, guys. You can't satisfy human beings. You know what I'm saying? You're going to come across some people, they don't want you to leave, like I said, and they don't want you to stay. You know what I'm saying? They always have something to say. They always have a complaint. So they complained that she was overweight. And then when she loses the weight, then they complain that she's too skinny and they're concerned. So it's like you can't really satisfy like a human being. So I don't even waste my time trying. I'm going to satisfy myself. I'm going to take care of myself because I can never ever satisfy a man. You know what I mean? Human beings are people who will always be judgmental. They're never really happy. And it's like, what do you want? Do you want a robot? You know what I'm saying? Do you want people to walk around like robots? Are you going to be satisfied then? So they always had some type of like complaint about Tracy. And I'm sure that was a burden on her. You know what I'm saying? And, I believe that a lot of times when people suffer from like diseases or like things like cancer and, you know, high blood pressure and all these things, I believe a lot of times that comes from, you know, issues that you're having spiritually. You know what I mean? If you have like a lot of worry and you're under stress and stuff like that, little do you know, stuff like that, I believe it does cause cancer. You know what I'm saying? If you're always stressed out, if you're always upset, you know what I mean? If your blood pressure is always high, if your body is not settled, if your spirit is not settled, then physically you're not going to be settle either. You know what I mean? Because spiritually, you're not really balanced. You know what I mean? If you're in a toxic marriage and your husband's always creeping out on you and he's always doing you dirty, that puts a lot of stress and pain on a woman's mind. And then it physically it affects the body too. So believe it or not, a lot of times, when people get sick, they get sick because it started off spiritually from something that's going on and then it manifests in the body physically. This is what I believe. You know what I'm saying? So we got to try our best, guys, not only to detox physically, but sometimes you got to spiritually detox from people too, because sometimes you could be with people and they can make you like physically sick. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ever talk to somebody? I know back in the days I used to talk to like some people. And every time I would talk to them, I would get off the phone and I remember that I wasn't really feeling that well. You know what I mean? Like, I would literally feel sick or like weighed down heavily. You know what I'm saying? It's because of the people. Sometimes you got to spiritually detox yourself from people and even relationships. Relationships can make you sick. I told you about another lady who is a longtime friend of our family. She's in Aries. I talked about this a couple of shows ago. She's married to this day, guys. She doesn't know about the show, so I can talk about it freely. But she's married. She's been married for over 50 years, this Aries woman. In this marriage, her husband has at least 7 kids that we know about within this marriage. You know what I'm saying? And I remember it would be times that, she would come over to our house. And I remember one time because she would always call my mom's and be talking about how he was cheating on her. He was going to this place. He's going on a business trip. He would be gone for 2 weeks and coming home smelling like pom pom. And you know what I mean? All these things this lady would just go through, you know what I mean? But again, she's one of those women who could sit back and brag and talk about she's been married for the last 50 years. But 50 years of what, though? 50 years of what? So again, so all this stress in this marriage, this man having all these kids, committing adultery, coming home smelling like pom pom, you know what I mean? All these things was stress on her. So I remember one day she had came to my mom's house, and as soon as my mother opened the door, she flew on the floor and she was wailing and screaming and swinging her arms, and she was crying because again she had found out that her husband had another baby. And due to the loyalty that she had for this marriage and this man, she didn't leave. So again, all of these things, all this stress within the marriage, worrying all the time, you know what I mean? That puts stress on her to the point where she now has a what do you call it? a fake heart, because when the doctors opened her up, it was so much damage to the heart, they had to replace it with a fake heart. So I'm saying that to say this is sometimes when you're in a toxic situation, just the stress of it all is it can make you physically sick. So yeah, guys. So Tracy, Tracy, I'm shocked. I'm really shocked about this, man. And I just know she's probably most likely in a better place than we are at, guys, to be honest. And I said this before, but we're all gonna go. All of us. Okay. Some of us, our appointment is a little bit sooner, but we all have an appointment. We all have an appointment to leave. Um, but again, some appointments are scheduled to go out a little earlier. So I'm sorry that this happened to Tracy. I'm sure it was a long battle. I did not know that this was going on. So many of us did not know. She wanted to keep it secret. And sometimes I was just telling my friend today, sometimes when you're going through things and illnesses and stuff like that, sometimes people like to keep that on the low, because when you tell people about it, sometimes it makes the situation worse. You know what I mean? Because again, energy exchanges. You know what I mean? This is why people keep certain things private, because they know if they let it out, that sometimes it can exasperate the problem and make things worse. So it looks like, Tracy, she went through a battle quietly, because again, she probably didn't want to let people know, because she wanted it to be a positive thing. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes if you go and you tell people that you're going through things, they have these negative thoughts that you're not going to make it, that you're not going to succeed. And just that energy that they put out in the universe could affect you and can stagnate you or make things worse. And this is why when people go through things like health problems and major health problems, like Gabe, again, Gabe, this other Gabe, I'm telling you, I was shocked when I heard that Gabe passed away shortly after they divorced. He's another one. He died from pancreatic cancer. Nobody knew about it. He kept that on the low because he probably wanted to fight it. And by keeping it quiet, you know what I mean? You keep the energy levels down by not letting a lot of people know the problems that you're having, so you could fight in silence. And it's just sad to hear that, Tracy and Gabe, they both lost the battle of cancer. You know what I'm saying? Cancer is no joke, guys. You know what I mean? I went through seeing oh, you asked me what was the lady's husband? A Leo, Nicole. He's a Leo. He's a Leo. And don't you know, Nicole, to this day, this man is still acting the same. And don't you know, she was in the hospital not too long ago in intensive care, and he didn't even go and visit her. So this is what I'm saying. Like, when you in a toxic marriage, it doesn't matter how long you've been married to a person. If that person is no good for you, they not going to be good to you all the way to the end. So you staying with them for 100 years, it's not going to make a difference. If that person is toxic, they're going to be toxic all the way to the very end. This is why, if there's anybody out there who's in a toxic relationship, I highly recommend, if you believe in God, to ask God for the strength, to give you the strength to get out of this marriage and move on with the rest of the life that God has given you. Because again, we don't know how long we're going to be here. So if God only gave you 50 years, let's say, of life, you mean to tell me you going to give 20 of those years to a toxic marriage? That's what you're going to do? You're going to give that much time away to a person who does not deserve you. So you're going to basically live unhappy for many years of your life. So all the way to the end, if somebody is not good for you, trust me, you could be on your dying bed. They still not going to be that good to you. So guys, I think that's about it. Tracy, she was a great person, and I'm sure she's in a good place right now. Hopefully she can continue to be the caring mother and guardian over her grandchildren and her child or her children, and you know what I mean? Hopefully, she's in a better place, definitely. And I'm just again, I'm lost for words. I'm disappointed. Um and I'm sad to hear that this happened. You know what I mean? And it's just so sad. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Don't really have that much to say. Again, she has her sun in Aries, moon in Cancer. She has Mercury in Taurus. I know a lot of because I was reading some of the comments, and a lot of people were saying that she had like a deep voice, and they didn't think that she had a singer's voice. And I think that mainly came from her Mercury being in Taurus. Another thing I saw too that she had her Venus in Pisces, which I have a video on that on my channel talking about Venus and Pisces. Then again, I thought it was a coincidence, and it's right there. It shows it's karmic. This marriage that she was in, it was a karmic marriage because both her and her husband have Mars in Capricorn. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have like a lot of assets or a lot of like property and businesses and things that are like tied together. And that's probably one of the main reasons why, she stuck and stood into this marriage, is because it's a lot of financial ties with that Mars in Capricorn being there. She also has Jupiter in Sagittarius. And again, I went over her Neptune in Sagittarius. So right there, with her Jupiter being in Sagittarius and that Neptune being in Sagittarius at 2 degrees, right there, that is a clear sign that she should have probably went into occupations dealing with education, teaching people. um occults Occultism probably would have been good for her. And just like being a doctor, or it's just teaching people maybe about medicine and stuff like that. With that 2 degrees sitting there with Sagittarius, with her having the Jupiter in Sagittarius, I believe she would have done well doing something like that again, instead of following her sisters and feeling slighted because she wasn't included. Yeah, so that's basically it, guys. Again, I'm very disappointed. But I'm sure she's in a better place. And rest in peace, Tracy. You did great. A lot of accomplishments. Look at Tracy looking good right there with her husband and all that. No disrespect to the hubby and all that, but you wasn't all that, hubby. You know what I'm saying? She could have definitely she could have definitely did a little bit better and all that. But she loved you. I'm sure you loved her. But Tracy was looking real good right here. You know what I'm saying? Tracy looking good and all that. Here's Tracy with her sisters. You know what I'm saying? Again, you could just look at this picture and see that there was something they it just the energy, they wasn't really including her for some reason. um this is Tracy. And I have a episode on my channel where I talk about narcissism and cheating. And I believe this is probably when Trina was going through her trials and tribulations with her husband. And when you're going through trials and tribulations in a relationship, that could affect you physically, where you don't even look the same. You know what I'm saying? When you're going through trials and tribulations, after you come out of that storm, you turn around and you look at those pictures and you're like, can't believe I used to look like that. Yeah, because the negative energy can just transform your looks totally. So look at how Trina was looking when she was going through problems. compared to how she looks today, looking well and healthy and happy because she's newly married. And yeah, guys, I'm gonna hurry up and get out of here. It's another picture of Tracy. She looked so beautiful that day. I love this picture of her. And no matter they kept saying Tracy lose weight, lose weight, lose weight, but to me back in the days, I mean, she was just to me she was just a voluptuous, black woman. You know what I'm saying? There's some black women that they can't really, I mean, even if they lose the weight, I mean, they just naturally voluptuous like that. You know what I'm saying? There's some black women that's just like that. You know what I mean? So they just wanted her to lose weight, lose weight. Everybody can't be skinny. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can't be thick either. There's some skinny girls, they could eat McDonald's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and everything in between and not gain no weight because they not naturally like that. So it's just heartbreaking that, people, they always want you to change to fit in so they can feel good. You know what I'm saying? They never want to, they never really encourage people to embrace who they are. She was thick, you know what I'm saying? And to me, back in the day, she wasn't obese. They kept making fun of her lose weight, but I don't really remember her being obese to the point where she was hideous. You know what I'm saying? She was just a thick chick. And she just, I don't understand why she wasn't allowed to embrace herself. But you could tell here, she was thick here and she was embracing herself looking beautiful, better than ever. Um, Let me see something. Somebody said something in the chat. So you said what placements make a marriage karmic? Yeah, so it's just yeah, so when I'm sure Nicole, I'm sure you're very knowledgeable in astrology. It's just not really, it's not a simple thing. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of factors. You know what I mean? Of course, you would have to get the other person's chart, do the composite, and then you would have to just look at it side by side and cherry pick some similarities. Like I was saying before, like Tracy and her husband, they both have Mars in Capricorn. So right there, there's an indication that this is a karmic relationship. Tracy, I believe her life path number is 2. And if her husband's birthday is correct from what I picked up so far, his life path number is a 5. So right there, that's karmic. And whenever you get people who have a life path number that matches, that's another bond that's going to be hard to break. You ever see some people in a marriage and you be like, why don't they just break up? You know what I mean? Like they're not, I mean, they sleep in the same bed, but they're not really having sex. Like there's really no love left there, but for whatever reason they still stick it out. And they stick it out because they have some energy alignments that it works well together. I'm saying with her being a life path number 2, him being a life path number 5, that's a good combination. And you said Nicole said, "What's the lady's husband's sign that was cheating?" So yeah, if the other lady I was telling you about, he was a Leo, and the lady with the heart problem, she is an Aries, and they've been married for over 50 years. Okay, and she's still with him, complaining to this day. To this day. And don't you know, after 7 kids, numerous, we've lost count of how many times he's cheated on her. We've lost count. Still, the love, it hasn't really, it's no change really. So it looks like, whoever, when this is officially over, it's really, it's nothing, nothing has improved. Nothing has improved. And this is what I'm saying. Like anybody who's in a toxic relationship, just know it really is. You could try and hope and go to therapy and all that stuff, but it's not really probably going to improve, to be honest with you. Just going to be wasting energy and time, really. hoping and holding on to a fantasy that's probably never really going to come true. So you said, Nicole, you said my mom and dad are both 9. Okay. Yeah. So that's karmic right there. So yeah, that's another sign. When you see like life path numbers, Nicole, that coincide like that and the couple is still together, that's definitely a red flag right there that that's a karmic relationship. And that's most likely a bond that's not going to break. This is another thing too when I come back and I talk to you guys about the dark wife, sometimes men or even women when they go out there and they commit adultery and they practice infidelity and they go out there and they cheat and stuff like that, sometimes the side chicks or the side boyfriends or whatever, they feel like they can really put it thick on that person, like, excuse my French, fuck the shit out of them, to the point where the husband will leave his wife. Sometimes when you're looking at a chart and you're seeing karmic connections, it doesn't matter, you know what I mean, how thick you put it on him, or how much he goes out there and cheats on his wife or whatever. If they have a karmic tie, nothing will probably break that relationship unless they both, and I mean they both, have to decide. Because even if one person, and that's what I'm saying, people really need to think hard and long. And this is, people could do what they want to do. Let me just go ahead and say that first and foremost. Adults, even if you're a teenager, if you don't have no family blood or nothing connected to me, you do whatever you want to do. It's your life. God gave you a life. You have choices. So definitely, I'm not telling anybody what to do, but I know what I'm going to tell my people, especially my kids. And I know they be hearing me talk on this YouTube, so I know they hear me through the grapevine. But I'm going to let them know, definitely, hands down, be very sure. Be very sure. I'm telling you, be very sure that this is what you're going to want. See, don't look at what's going on today. Don't, look at it, like, look at the bigger picture. Can you see yourself with this person 40, 50 years from now? Hoping, marriage will last that long. Most of them don't. Most of them last maybe 5 years at the minimum. And 10 years, you're lucky, because nowadays marriages, they don't go on for too long. But ask yourself, are you going to be with this person? You know what I'm saying? Before you sign this contract, before you get in this marriage, are you really and truly ready for this? Because this is not a game. This is not girlfriend and boyfriend, baby mother, baby father. This is a marriage. This is a contract. Whether you sign your name on the dotted line or on paper, you're signing it with God. So this is a contract. This is a bond that you're in. And you're probably going to need a heavy bond to get out of. So anyway, so Nicole, you said they have had some problems and they never breaking up. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, yo, some marriages, it don't matter. They're never going to break up. Even the story I told you about this lady with the heart problem and her husband having 7 kids on her. She should have been left, but she ain't going nowhere, and he knows that. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing too. Sometimes when you're in a marriage and a partner is dogging you out and they know no matter what they do, you ain't going nowhere, you're never ever going to gain that respect from them. And they know you're not going anywhere. So if they know that you're not going anywhere, why should they change their behavior? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So again, this is a contract, guys. It's a spiritual contract. It's a bondage that you're in. It's serious. Um yeah. So guys, man, it looks like Tracy, I think she had like some chemotherapy and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I could talk about it because I went through the whole chemotherapy not too long ago with my husband, and I seen those people in the room. And I'll never forget when I was in the room with the people doing the chemo and stuff like that. I mean, it was all kind of ages of people in there from they had teenagers in the room doing the chemo all the way to older people, obviously. All kind of ages, all kind of different colors, everything. I was in there with, I saw athletes in there. You know what I'm saying? People who look like they just came from the gym, body well put together. They were in the room, doing the whole chemo thing. And to be honest with you guys, I'm just gonna tell you the truth. Like I don't really like chemo though. I mean, I don't really like the whole chemo thing. I'm saying when I saw them giving my husband a chemotherapy, I just had a feeling that it was just gonna make things worse. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I saw. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there is some testimonies out there where they say people, they do the chemotherapy, they come out, but to me, guys, from what I've seen, it just makes things worse. You know what I mean? And this is why, you know what I mean, I probably would recommend people, try to seek out like a holistic doctor. You know what I mean? Definitely do things naturally. You know what I mean? Definitely look into herbs and stuff like that and detox. Like I said, not only physically detox. See, we're so busy trying to fucking physically detox that we're not even worried about spiritually detoxing. You know what I'm saying? We're not worrying about getting rid of people who are toxic. You know what I'm saying? If you're around a toxic person, that's just as bad as putting something toxic in your body. That person's energy is fucked up, it's tainted, it's heavy, and it's dark, and it's oppressive. You know how many people in this world who have an oppressive energy? I was just talking to my friend today about, she was just telling me about how somebody who kept promising her something. And I told her, I said, do you know that that person is oppressing you? Every time somebody promises you that they're going to do something and they don't do it, or they say they're going to do this or do that, or say they're going to show up and they don't show up, that is another form of somebody holding you back because they're lying to you. They're trying to give you an energy that it's going to be one way or it's going to be another. So they're occupying your space. They're taking up space in your mind that you're going to do something and you know that you're not going to do it. So if you look at it, that person is oppressing you and they're holding you back. This is why this on this show, this whole astro conversation thing that I'm doing here, this is why I'm so glad that I decided to do this on my own. I don't need people to come on my show and do nothing on here. Because I tried that before where I would invite somebody over. I would say, come and do this and do that and do this with me. And then I would notice that, they would say that they would, but then they don't show up because I think it's sometimes in people's mind, they feel like they're gonna make or break me. No, see, this is what I'm telling my kids. Like, if there's anything that you want to do in your life, just go ahead and do it on your own. Because if you have to depend on people, people will let you down, or in some way in their mind, they would feel as though if they do it, then they're gonna uplift you or make you stronger or better. No, I'm gonna do this regardless. I don't, as a matter of fact, I'd rather do it by myself regardless. So if anything happens, if anything pops, then nobody can sit back and say, well, I helped you build that. Or I helped you. You ain't helped me do shit, nigga. I did it on my own. So even if it was a hard burden to carry, I'd rather carry this shit on my own because when everything is said and done, nobody could say that they helped me do shit and they didn't do nothing for me. I did this on my own. You understand what I'm saying? So that's just the best way to do things. Cuz sometimes people will get in their mind that if they help you, then if you get to a certain whatever, that it was them who had no. We going to do this on our own. So anyway, I'm not going to even go into that because I so badly want to go into some things, but I'm not gonna even bring that up right now. But anyway, Tracy, man, I wonder how her pops is feeling and her moms. They must be going through it, yo. So is Tony and Birdman still together? I don't know what was up with that. That was kind of like a weird connection. I don't even know how that happened. That must be karmic. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I think I've talked enough. Your girl Trina got married again. This is for the women out there. If you're in a toxic relationship and you don't think that, you can find another love, like the love that you once knew, trust me, you can. You know what I'm saying? For anybody out there, once again, if you're in a toxic relationship, I highly recommend for you to try to spiritually first unbind yourself from the marriage. And then obviously you work on physically getting out of that marriage because it's a process. It's not just going to the divorce court and getting divorced. First, you have to spiritually divorce that person and then you physically divorce them. So you have to, organically and over time unbind yourself from this person because it's a process. Just like it took a process for you to fall in love and get with that person and get to the stage that you're at. It's going to take just probably just as much time for you to get over it. So if you've been in a relationship for 10 years, it's probably going to take you about, I would say at the minimum, a good probably 5 years at the minimum to finally get into a good space where, you can come back to who you are naturally. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think nobody else is in the chat. I'm gonna get out of here. Um, Tracy, I don't even know what to say, man. This is such a shock. This when Tracy was looking good. Marriage boot camp. Damn. This is Tracy here. This when Tracy was thick and all that. What was wrong with Tracy then? I remember this is the time they was making fun of her, talking about girl, lose weight, lose weight. Tracy was looking. I remember when Tracy was big. I remember Tracy, when Tracy had that weight on her, to me, she looked energetically happier. I don't know if you guys agree, but to me, when she was thicker, she looked it happier. As soon as they started making fun of her, taunting her, telling her to lose the weight, she turned into somebody else and she was never herself. So this is what I'm saying, guys out there, man. It doesn't matter what nobody say, yo. They not God. Love you. This is where God made you. Embrace yourself. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, let me get out of here, guys. It's been fun. Tracy. Anyway. All right, guys. I'm out. Later.